Between 1885 and 1908, an estimated 10 million people died in the Congo Free State. Their deaths were not the result of war or disease, but of systematic exploitation and brutality enforced by King Leopold II of Belgium. This is just one chapter in the dark history of colonial crimes in Africa, crimes that were never prosecuted, crimes that reshaped entire societies, and crimes that continue to haunt the continent today. The Congo Free State was not the only place where colonial powers left a trail of devastation. In Namibia, the Herero and Nomo genocide claimed the lives of tens of thousands. In Algeria, French forces burned villages and massacred civilians. In Cameroon, the UPC uprising was brutally suppressed, leaving tens of thousands dead. These atrocities were not isolated incidents. They were part of a broader system of colonial violence designed to extract resources, suppress resistance, and maintain control. Colonial powers systematically dismantled pre-existing justice systems, replacing them with state-centric structures that criminalized resistance and prioritized punishment over reconciliation. In the Congo Free State, amputations were used as a tool of enforcement. Workers who failed to meet rubber quotas had their hands cut off. These amputations were not random acts of brutality, they were part of a deliberate strategy to instill fear and ensure compliance. In Namibia, General Lothar von Trotha issued an extermination order against the Herero people. Those who were not killed outright were driven into the desert, where they died of thirst and starvation. The Herero population was reduced by 80%, and the Nomo by 50%. In Algeria, French forces engaged in indiscriminate violence against civilians. Women, children, and the elderly were not spared. Entire villages were burned, and mass shootings were common. The French military's tactics were designed to crush resistance at any cost. In Cameroon, the French army suppressed the UPC uprising with brutal efficiency. Villages like Ekite were annihilated, and tens of thousands of people were killed. The French government has never acknowledged these crimes, nor has it apologized or offered reparations. The Mau Mau uprising in Kenya was met with similar brutality. The British colonial government detained over 1.5 million Kenyans in camps, where they were subjected to torture, starvation, and disease. Thousands died in these camps, yet the British government has never fully acknowledged the extent of these atrocities. Colonialism also reshaped African justice systems. Before colonization, justice in Africa was often victim-focused, with compensation to victims or their kin being the primary remedy. Colonial powers replaced this system with state-centric criminal prosecution, separating criminal law from civil law and redefining crime as a threat to state authority rather than harm to individuals. The legacy of colonial crimes is still felt today. Modern African legal systems retain the colonial separation of criminal and civil law. Organized crime groups from Europe have migrated to Africa, exploiting weakened institutions shaped by colonial disruption. And many massacres, like the Herero genocide and the UPC uprising, remain undertaught in African curricula, contributing to historical amnesia. Despite calls for reparations and apologies, former colonial powers have been slow to acknowledge their crimes. France has yet to acknowledge its atrocities in Algeria and Cameroon. Germany only formally recognized the Herero genocide in 2015, and negotiations over reparations remain contentious. The Congo Free State atrocities have never been fully acknowledged by Belgium, and King Leopold II's role in these crimes has been downplayed. The history of colonial crimes in Africa is a history of pain, loss, and injustice. It is a history that demands to be remembered, not just for the sake of the victims, but for the sake of future generations. Only by confronting this dark past can we hope to build a more just and equitable future.